Meister, the Disrupt Meister. Welcome to the One Bitcoin Show. Today is March the 3rd, 2020. Strong hand. Having hype. Bitcoin is the next Bitcoin. Long-term thinking. In motion. Value your wealth in Bitcoin. Yeah, I'm a Meister. Or type in or do a super chat. I will see it. Remember, check out disruptmeister.com. It was wild. And this Beyond Bitcoin is every Saturday. All my shows, over 1,600 shows, disruptmeister.com. Follow me on Twitter at TechBalt. TechBalt. Here is a link to a hilarious little 2-minute video. It says, vote Bitcoin. Apparently there were some elections today. And I know a lot of people in the mainstream media are talking about elections. But the guys over at the Bitcoin 2020 conference, I will be there the end of the month, the last Friday and Saturday of the month. They made a little promo for the conference, just kind of poking fun at the election and saying to vote Bitcoin. And yes, don't worry about who you're voting for political office. Worry about how you're voting financially. And the way you do that is by getting your hands on some of the real thing, the Bitcoin. And maybe you can go to the Bitcoin 2020 conference also. It's a promo for that. It's funny. Watch it, retweet it. I read a long hash this is from. GBTC Premium shows institutional investors accumulated Bitcoin in February. So I'm not going to go over the whole darn article. You can read it yourself. But he brings up proof of institutional by all that panic out there, health panic. But I bring this up because of my classic prediction. There are going to be all these no-coiners of the future saying it's unfair. Why did the rich get richer? Why did the institutions get this Bitcoin and I didn't? Well, because you didn't vote Bitcoin, did you? You were talking nonsense. Instead, you were worried about Bernie Sanders. That's why the institutions institutional investors quietly, slowly getting their hands on it. They're not. They're concerned about getting wealthy and preserving their wealth. All right, so he's got a podcast out there. I've got to say, he put his money where his mouth is. He put together a survey of Americans, even though he's Canadian, and he asked a question that has been asked on Twitter before. But this is a real scientific survey here. Okay. And I linked to his report about it and the actual raw information. There's 2 different links, so you can check it out yourself. So what was the question? The windfall game. Well, there were 17 questions, but the first question was, a wealthy person gifts you $10,000. You get to choose in which form you'll accept the gift. But there's a catch. You must keep the gift in the form that you chose for 10 years without touching it. In which form would you accept the gift? And so the options are cash, gold, stocks, and Bitcoin. Now, when this was done on Bitcoin Twitter, of course, Bitcoin won. But when this question was the first question on the survey, I think cash won, then gold, then stocks, then Bitcoin lost. Bitcoin came. And he shows the results, breaks it down by demographics. And first of all, by generation. And at first, the more so younger people and wealthier person were more likely to pick Bitcoin, and men. But then there were 15 more questions after that, okay? There were 15 more questions asking about, what the Fed is, how does money come into existence? Did you know Bitcoin has done better than over the last 10 years than XYZ. It gave some, do you know how Bitcoin works? They were educational questions, okay? So people, the next 15 questions gave people a better idea of what Bitcoin is. So then they were asked the initial question. Again, question 1 became question 17. And this time, after all those other educational questions, Bitcoin won. Bitcoin was the most popular pick, not cash, not gold, not stock, Bitcoin. So it showed that with a little bit of education, with a little bit of knowledge, people pick Bitcoin. And right now, initially, people don't know what Bitcoin is. So I'll go over these points that he points out in this report. It is, I recommend all of you read it. This is insider information. Nobody else is writing about this yet. I hope some other people write about it because this is a professional survey. So those who initially chose Bitcoin are likely to be wealthier than those who didn't. That segment was significantly more likely to get Bitcoin-related questions correct. 46% of them knew that Bitcoin is run by nobody / the users, compared to 33% of the non-Bitcoin cohort. They were more likely to report that they understand Bitcoin well. They were more likely to report that they are knowledgeable about Bitcoin. There were no significant differences between the Bitcoin cohort and the non-Bitcoin cohort in other financial questions. Bitcoin cohort was likely to believe its value could reach $8 trillion. Bitcoin cohort were surprisingly more trusting of the banks than the non-Bitcoin cohort, which is surprising. Generation X, Millennials, and Gen Z were almost equally interested in Bitcoin as an investment. Baby boomers are interested in Bitcoin. Boomers appear stuck in their ways, expressing significantly less initial interest in Bitcoin. Okay, so that's not a shock either that the baby boomers were not, that the younger people were more so interested at first, but with a little bit of education, the baby boomers became interested also. Towards the end of the survey, they are the least interested in learning more about Bitcoin. However, boomers had the largest delta between the beginning and the end of the survey, showing the highest increase in Bitcoin interest by percentage across all generations. So they're very willing to be educated. They're willing to learn. Conclusions. Although at first only 13% of participants would choose Bitcoin in the windfall scenario, 38% chose Bitcoin by the end. That's a big difference. Becoming more informed about the money creation process, the effects of inflation on the value of the US dollars, and Bitcoin's performance as an investment versus gold and stocks shows a positive overall effect on the decision to invest in Bitcoin. There was a 33% overall increase of participants choosing Bitcoin in the windfall scenario at the end of the survey. Being wealthy is largely in basic fact from the beginning is if you are already wealthy, the rich are gonna get richer because they're already familiar with Bitcoin. They're already old. You give them a little education, a little financial education. They will consider Bitcoin. So everyone, be your own marketing team. Just give the basic facts, and it really does make a difference. So pound that like button and check out that survey below. I think it's a very important one. But finally, we have a scientific survey instead of somebody doing a Twitter poll. I think that's progress right there, right? So in Russia, the opposition leader Navalny says his bank accounts were frozen. And his children's bank accounts and his family's bank accounts were frozen also. And this happens in low-level countries like Russia. And it is a use case right there that if you're not politically acceptable in some of these countries, they'll just turn your finances off, okay? This guy should have had Bitcoin. He can't send money to his daughter in the United States anymore. Which is unfortunate because his money was all tied up in the Russian banks. Ugh, God. Bank, especially if you're in some country like Russia, which can turn you off immediately. So yeah, Russian opposition politician Navalny said the authorities had frozen all of his bank accounts and those of his family, including his elderly parents. They can't stop Bitcoin though, but he didn't have Bitcoin, so oopsie daisy there on his part. As I predicted, the Fed cut rates. I knew they'd do something this week. Did I mention make up for everyone like in Asia not working, or lots of people in China taking off and everybody panicking, people not wanting to go out and do things. They think this will stimulate the economy. Okay. But Travis Kling says the Fed just implemented an emergency 50 BPS rate cut. The last time the Fed did this was October 29th, 2008. 2 days later, an unknown person or group of people going by the pseudonym Satoshi Nakamoto published a paper called Bitcoin, a peer-to-peer electronic cash system. So yeah, the last time the Fed did something like this was quite some time ago, wasn't it? It was right before Bitcoin. So I can expect nothing less than over the long term. This does wake more people up to Bitcoin, get more people into Bitcoin. Donald Trump, everybody, keep on printing the money. I don't give a darn. I don't have my people on Twitter were yelling again. The government is ripping off the people. It's destroying their savings. Why are they even saving in dollars at this point? It's been over. It's been what 11 years since this Bitcoin came out. What's the point? Again, let's be nice with our education here and just say, look, dollar, it's lost a lot of value over the last 100 years. Take a long-term approach. Bitcoin has gained a lot of value over the last 10 years. There you go. Now, what do you want your $10,000 in? Bitcoin, dollars, gold, or stocks? You've changed your mind, haven't you? I'm very persuasive. Remember, if you got questions, I got answers. Type in Bitcoin Meister so I can see it in the chat. All right, we got no one's saying anything. I see me. Okay, good. Then what do we talk about? Oh, Cointelegraph has this article. It just came out. I actually noticed on Twitter, but they sum it up pretty nicely here. The Indian Supreme Court lifts the Royal Bank of India ban on banks servicing crypto firms. So India's got a lot of bureaucracy, okay? They came up with a genius rule that their banks couldn't deal with crypto firms, so thus that was very bad for Bitcoin. Now, they still might make Bitcoin illegal again. They're still like debating that. But this is a step in the right direction. Maybe if they don't make Bitcoin illegal, the banks will start to deal with Bitcoin-related businesses. Bitcoin-related businesses and exchanges will open there again, and like a billion people will have the chance to get Bitcoin. Now, yes, there are a billion people there, but very few have access to technology to even get you onto Bitcoin. And there's not that much drive among a lot of people, but it still will make a difference. It still will make a big difference if Indians really start to get into Bitcoin again. And this is but I warn everyone, there is a lot of bureaucracy there, and they change their, obviously when you're involved with bureaucracy, it's not a lot of smart people. It's a lot of people making impulsive decisions, trying to grab power. And when it's a gigantic bureaucracy, who knows what they're going to do next. But hey, that's a good sign. At least banks can do business with with Bitcoin related businesses. All right. I believe I covered everything I intended to cover on today's show. We talked about the Russians, the Indians, this, the that, the this. All right. And it will be interesting to see how the markets start to react if it becomes more apparent, and I don't know if it's going to become more apparent, that Bernie Sanders will not be a nominee for president, that he will not be the Democratic nominee. We'll see what that has on the markets. If that, Bitcoin's uncorrelated though. So, but it'll be interesting to see if this cancels out some of this panic that the general financial markets have. But hey, that's just a spectator sport to me because I value my wealth in Bitcoin, stocks, bonds, gold, all that stuff. Old school, gold, old. Bitcoin, long-term thinking, it's the future, baby. I'm Adam Meister, the Bitcoin Meister. Pound that freaking like button. Subscribe to this channel. Bang the bell button. New show here every day. Retweet this, spread the word. And I'll have another show, hopefully not this late at night tomorrow. I'll see you later. Let me just make sure I did not skip anything, because I just feel like I skipped a major topic of some sort. No, that's it. See ya.